Okay, stop me if you've heard it. What happens when a young Earth creationist can no longer think of any intelligent arguments? You're gonna laugh. Oh no, it's not a joke. Sorry if you thought it was. This video is what happens. Please subscribe.
One of the things that has really stuck out to me recently is the fact that these atheists that I'm dealing with on the internet, about 90% of them always have these posters of Final Fantasy or Mario Kart or Super Mario Brothers in their background of their videos.
So, what the hell difference does that make? I really don't understand where you're coming from, Matt. Unless, of course, you're trying to divert people's attention away from the ridiculous nonsense you believe.
This to me is kind of like a dead giveaway.
It is a dead giveaway. How dare these people have hobbies and interests?
Because these people, they're obviously living in a fantasy land by believing that the world popped into existence uncaused with no God.
But how exactly do you go from a Mario Brothers poster in the background of a video to they don't believe that God created the earth? That's like saying I've got an upset stomach because a giraffe farted in Nigeria. The two things are completely unrelated.
I mean, that in and of itself requires belief in magic, belief in superstition, if you will.
And believing that the world just poofed into existence 6,000 years ago just because God fancied doing it, with absolutely no proof or explanation of the mechanism he used to achieve it, isn't believing in fantasy or magic.
But the fact is that this crowd has really never grown out of Toon Network. They haven't grown out of Nickelodeon. Most of them on the internet that do response videos to me or other creation apologists, they have literal fantasy stuff hanging up in their background. They've got Marvel comics hanging everywhere. They never grew out of Super Nintendo. I mean, this is the crowd that we're dealing with.
So why is it that I don't believe in God then? I don't play games. I've never really been interested in anime. Marvel films are okay, but I know they're not real.
Knowing Matt Powell and having seen one of Matt Powell's sermons and then seeing him personally off to the side, it's not just an online, duplicitous character thing. It is that is him.
I figured it would be appropriate to really point this out because
you're starting to run out of ideas for videos?
Because
you're just not a very nice person?
Because
you can't think of any valid arguments, you've got no option than to attack what a person likes themselves?
Because
Uncle Ken told you to.
This is the same crowd that's coming after your children right now. The reason that they create cartoons and try to tell you why the Bible's wrong is because they want to infiltrate the minds of the youth. They want to change their mind. They want to get them thinking that there is no God. Misery loves company.
Is that why you've moved in with Kent? Is that why you only use ad-hominem attacks in your videos? You know? Ad-hominem. Ad-hominem.
They're making it their purpose to tell everybody that there is no purpose. And if you have children that have been influenced by these guys, just point out to your kids that these are a bunch of adults that have never grown out of childhood. Why else would they have Dragon Ball Z in the background? Or Star Fox? I mean, to me, it's a dead giveaway. We're dealing with a crowd of people that are literally stuck in their childhood and they've never grown out of it.
Interesting that you should say they're stuck in their childhood, Matt, because if you take me, for example, when I was a child, I did believe in God. I went to a Catholic school. I was even an altar boy, church every Sunday. But then I grew up. So it's the exact opposite of what you claim as the reason these people don't believe in God.
But of course, this is the first crowd to tell us that the Bible's wrong. This is the first crowd to come and tell us that dinosaurs farted themselves to death.
Isn't it odd that whenever this hateful little turd references a paper, he only picks the parts he thinks back up his argument? And what I mean by that is he hasn't once mentioned that this theory also says that the research relies on a stack of assumptions and is at best a rough idea of what may have happened. We don't know what the gut flora of sauropods were like. Oh yeah, he's also never mentioned that this theory isn't based on all dinosaurs and that we don't actually know whether they farted at all. All the research is attempting to do is, since emissions from cows and other livestock today contribute to our own greenhouse gases, which is warming our atmosphere, Researchers wondered if sauropods might have had a similar effect on the world then. But of course, being a young Earth creationist and being a desperate, pathetic little liar, you have to claim that some guy somewhere said that dinosaurs farted themselves into extinction. The only problem is, Matt, they didn't say that at all.
Or that squids and octopi rode on a comet from outer space into our Earth and crash landed.
Again, not the full story, is it, Matt? What he's referring to is a real study. I know I was shocked as well. However, I find it very telling that he fails to mention that a virologist at the Max Planck Institute for Molecular Genetics in Germany concluded that the findings cannot be taken seriously, and that many of the claims in this paper are beyond speculative. Why do you never mention those things, Matt?
Of course, the crowd that tells us that the Bible is incorrect and that Jesus was just a man and not God is the very crowd that believes that monkeys made a sea voyage from Africa to South America on rafts, that they literally surfed from Africa to South America. One guy responded to me recently. He goes, well, that sounds crazy. Let's clarify. It wasn't a surfboard. It was a log or some seaweed.
So we have seen evidence, plenty of evidence, for animals drifting on logs, drifting on seaweed, drifting on whatever through the ocean.
I mean, that's pretty desperate when you're saying that monkeys actually rafted on seaweed across the ocean.
I agree, it is indeed an odd claim to make, but no one claims that at all. Yeah, the headline was monkeys rafted across the ocean. You do know that headlines are meant to catch the attention of the reader, Matt, don't you? But what the study actually says is that it's possible that the ancestors of modern South American monkeys first came to the New World by floating across the Atlantic Ocean on mats of vegetation on Earth. Even today, and this has been seen by actual people, lemurs arriving in Madagascar by rafting across from mainland Africa, a distance of more than 260 miles, and small lizards island hop in the Bahamas on natural rafts.
I don't even know what to say. Internet atheists and non-believers, I tried, okay? I tried my best. I can honestly say that I've tried my best to help you understand the world around you.
But Matt, nobody asked you to because nobody cares about anything you've got to say. The only things you say are the things that you've read in the Bible or been told to say by other young Earth creationists.
If you don't want to understand the world around you, if you want to continue living in Toon Network land or Nickelodeon land, like your posters have demonstrated, I can't help you. You have to grow out of childhood into adulthood.
Nobody wants your help. And certainly nobody I know has ever asked you for it. All this video demonstrates, Matt Powell, is that you're a pathetic, hateful, insecure little boy. You're not even a man, because a real man wouldn't behave in the way that you behave. You've exhausted all your so-called arguments, and because every single thing you say gets debunked frequently, you're now resorting to attacking the person rather than what they believe or choose not to believe.
When you have posters of literal Nickelodeon, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward in your background, that is such a dead giveaway that you've never grown out of Marvel Comics, that you've never grown out of PBS, that you've never grown out of the things that you need to grow out of. I don't do these videos to be condescending towards you if you are one of these folks. I simply point this out because it's kind of the elephant in the room.
Cool story. So let's address the elephant in your room, shall we? Why is it that a so-called man of God is happy to be in the employment and live at the same address as a convicted criminal? And why is it that you are slowly but surely becoming the mini-me to Kent Hovind's Dr. Evil? Except if that was the case, it would just be Mr. Evil, because Kent isn't a doctor.
I mean, when you're going around saying there is no God, and proclaiming this while you have posters of literal kids material on your wall as a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old man or woman, grow up.
How about this then, Matt? I've got a proposal for you. One grown man to well, to you. How about you provide any evidence which is so damning to prove the existence of God that I and the other creators like me that respond to your videos have no option other than to accept that God is real. But you cannot refer to the Bible at all. I'll just wait for you to reply. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love you. Bye.